the name of the Creator, Redeemer, and Sanctifier. All right, so when I was 10 years old, I had a very, very best friend. Her name was Catherine, and she lived down the street from me. She had a tree house. A tree house. I had the best climbing tree, though. And so we would spend every other day or every day going between the tree house and my climbing tree. We would come home covered from head to toe in the sticky sap of the tree that I had. We resided a lot of time in that tree together. Now, we were best of friends. We dressed alike. We did everything together. As a matter of fact, we even signed an oath for each other. Now, we were a little squeamish for blood, so that wasn't for us. So we spit into some dirt and mixed our mud together and smeared it all over the back of our palms. That was the kind of friend I had. Her name was Catherine. I bet you had a friend like that too, maybe. Yes? Raise your hand? No? Shake? Yeah. A lot of us do. Now, this Catherine was also the reason I became an Episcopalian. I'll give you a little bit into that. When I went to spend the night at her house, we had to get up early. And her mom would bake chocolate croissants, which is probably the real reason I became an Episcopalian, is those chocolate croissants were really good. And it was my job to make sure in the prayer book everything was set for when we came to that in the service. And I had to make sure all the hymnal pages were right. And her job was to wear a robe and to acolyte that weekend. And we did this every week, and that was my first introduction to being an Episcopalian. Now, one day, down the street, somebody else moved in. Her name was Tammy. Now, Tammy had a pool. In North Carolina, a pool is a big deal in the summer. And Tammy would have pool parties. But Catherine and I learned that sometimes Tammy would invite me and not invite Catherine. Or sometimes she would invite Catherine and not me at these parties. And Catherine and I found out together, and we decided we would not attend the pool at all unless all of us are welcome. That's a true friend, right? To give up a hot pool on the summer just so that everybody is welcome at the pool. I really appreciated her, and as we grew up, I moved away, and she moved to a different school, a private school, and so we drifted apart over the years. This sense of having a best friend like that, an oath-giving friend, where you make sure that they are invited to the pool as well, is the kind of relationship that Jesus is talking about here. That steadfastness in friendship. That's what abiding means, to live in that steadfast of the relationship. It's simple, but yet you know as adults, it's actually fairly deep, right? So, the interconnectedness between us was another aspect of that friendship. Today's gospel, John is telling his disciples his last words before he goes off to heaven and off to dying. This is in John's gospel. And he's leaving them not to abandon them, but to let them know that they are going to do greater things. That love that he shares with them now and then will become incarnate in a way that was new and different and incredible. Asking us to love. Unpacking that sense of a vine one more time this weekend. That we're all interconnected, and when love runs through that interconnectivity, the fruit that it produces lasts forever. There's a Jewish adage about love, that on one side of a coin, if love was a coin, one side would say love, the other side would say justice. That you can't have love without justice. Because you want a friend who, when you're spiraling out, will help you come back to the center. You want a friend who, when you've got spinach in your teeth, will stop you and say, hey, you've got some spinach in your teeth, one way or another, right? That's the kind of friendship you want. Something that moves towards goodness and love. Something that moves towards justice. Something that makes sure that everyone is invited to the pool, right? And love without justice, according to Rabbi Zalman Zil, is like whipped cream on garbage. I know, it's quite an image. It's just veneer. Without that depth, it's nothing. And that's why Jesus talks about the commandments being part of this, right? You love Jesus and you love God by loving the commandments and abiding in that commandments and abiding in Jesus at the same time will be reciprocal and loving, and that's the friendship. Koshi talked about that sense of loving God means that we can love each other, that cross, right? Several weeks ago. That is what God is talking about here. And of course, Cornel West said that justice is love in public, that's what it is. So I pray today that we seek that sense of friendship in God, where we may have that steadfastness, knowing that God will make sure we know that we have spinach in our teeth, and that we could build a relationship out into the world, relying and abiding in that love. And with that comes a justice that we can only dream about. Let us be that love and justice in the world. Amen.